Louisiana's Democratic U.S. Senator, the one you don't associate with a hooker scandal, responded to the huge BP oil spill just off the coast here in New Orleans with a call for the country to recommit, to double down and hold steady to oil drilling.
Our country needs this oil. I mean, there is no question about that. We have to produce this oil at home unless we want to be completely reliant. We've got to investigate, find, clean up, and then do the research necessary so this will never happen again. And we must continue to go forward.
We have to continue to go forward, just as we've always done, just as we've done for decades, over and over and over and over again, with each successive oil spill, explosion, and fire. Prices paid in lives, in land, and in economies. And yet, at the same time, every president in the modern era has paid some amount of lip service to our country's dependency on oil and other fossil fuels. On January 29th, 1969, before I was born, 6 miles off the California coast, there was a blowout at a Union Oil Company drilling platform. Oil and natural gas gushed into the ocean for 11 and a half days. 200,000 gallons of crude covered 800 square miles, killing thousands of seabirds. 35 miles of California coastline were caked in tar. The next year, Earth Day was born out of the stomach-churning images from the Santa Barbara oil disaster. Never again would we take our environment for granted. Never again would we abuse it and put it all at such risk, right?
We can no longer afford to consider air and water common property, free to be abused by anyone without regard to the consequences. Instead, we should begin now to treat them as scarce resources, which we are no more free to contaminate than we are free to throw garbage into our neighbor's yard.
Being an oil-based nation wasn't just a problem for what it was doing to our land and our seas. It was also a huge national security liability.
A massive program must be initiated to increase energy supply, to cut demand, and provide new standby emergency programs to achieve the independence we want by 1985. Increasing energy supplies is not enough. We must take additional steps to cut long-term consumption.
That was in 1975. Then December 15th, 1976 came, near Buzzards Bay in Massachusetts. The Argo Merchant broke apart southeast of Nantucket Island. It dumped 7.7 million gallons of fuel oil. Bad timing during the country's worst energy crisis.
The energy crisis has not yet overwhelmed us, but it will if we do not act quickly. We simply must balance our demand for energy with our rapidly shrinking resources.
Our resources were not limitless. We could no longer afford to treat them as such.
We will ensure that our people and our economy are never again held hostage by the whim of any country or cartel.
At this point, I have to wait for the giant riverboat to go by. They want to be on TV. Okay, I won't move to New Orleans. One more? Oh, that's it. President after president insisted that we would not be held hostage. We would be energy independent. Then on March 24th, 1989, the king of all oil disasters, at least so far, the Exxon Valdez colliding with an underwater reef. More than 11 million gallons of oil released into the Prince William Sound in Alaska. Fish, birds, otters, seals, all devastated. 1,300 miles of coastline covered in oil. It was a national man-made disaster and a national embarrassment, prompting President George H.W. Bush to say, quote, "We know now that protecting the environment is a global issue. The nations of the world must make common cause in defense of our environment. And I promise you this nation, the United States of America, will take the lead internationally." In June 8th, 1990, an explosion and fire on the Mega Borg released over 5 million gallons of oil off the coast of Galveston, Texas. On August 10th, 1993, 3 ships collide near Tampa, Florida. 336,000 gallons of oil spill into Tampa Bay. November 28th, 2000, an oil tanker loses power and runs aground near Port Sulphur, Louisiana, which we drove through yesterday. 500,000 gallons of oil pour into the lower Mississippi. All of that oil moving around the country with never-ending opportunities for huge oopses. Then March 23, 2005, one of the deadliest oil disasters in history. A massive, earth-shaking, window-shattering explosion at a BP oil refinery in Texas City kills 15 people. The government determined BP was so egregiously negligent it levied the largest fine ever, $21.3 million against that company. 4 years later, that record was broken when officials fined BP another $87 million for failing to correct hundreds of safety violations at the very same Texas City refinery, 4 years after they killed 15 of their own workers at that same plant. Clearly, it was time for bold political action, right? Time to trot out that same tired line they always trot out before nothing changes.
Keeping America competitive requires affordable energy. And here we have a serious problem. America is addicted to oil.
The Deepwater Horizon drilling rig off the Louisiana coast here was feeding that addiction until an explosion 2 weeks ago killed 11 workers. As we speak, oil continues to flow unabated into the Gulf of Mexico with no end in sight. But this time we'll get it right? We'll learn the lessons from 4 decades of spills and crashes and explosions and fires.
As President of the United States, I'm going to spare no effort to respond to this crisis for as long as it continues. And we will spare no resource to clean up whatever damage is caused. And while there will be time to fully investigate what happened on that rig and hold responsible parties accountable, our focus now is on a fully coordinated, relentless response effort to stop the leak and prevent more damage to the Gulf.
We'll clean it up and everything will go back to normal. Normal presumably being the completely reliable effect of drilling and spilling. House Minority Leader John Boehner told Roll Call today, quote, "This tragedy should remind us that America needs a real comprehensive energy plan, like Republicans' all-of-the-above strategy." The Republican all-of-the-above strategy is a relic of the summer of 2008 when gas prices were so high filling up your tank could make you woozy. The plan boils down to essentially drill, baby, drill, in places including Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge, which is very, very, very far away. Here in Louisiana, for all the criticism of a slow government response, failed attempts to stop the massive oil leaks, rescue crews were able to reach the disaster site almost immediately. This is the Gulf. Accidents and disasters happen. Human beings mess up. They mess up a lot. Technology messes up. If you mess up in the Arctic, where are your resources to clean up after yourself? Where are your crews and your booms and your boats and your scientists and your experts? Think about it. Where would you rather have a heart attack? Would you rather have a heart attack in New York City near the hospitals and doctors and the medicine? Or would you rather have a heart attack on the moon? You obviously don't want to have a heart attack anywhere, but the Republican energy plan is a heart attack on the moon plan. It is a plan that ignores decades of oil disasters. But we have to continue to just go forward, right? Right, Senator Landrieu? Just like we always do, just keep plugging along, right?